Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. Today, I'm hanging out with Jeff Lenosky. He's a world-class professional mountain biker. He travels the country doing YouTube videos and mountain bike festivals. Today, he's gonna give his tour inside and out of his custom camper van. So join us.
Hey Patrick, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to show you my 2022 Ford Transit all-wheel drive sender van. So it took about 4 months to build this thing out, but it was probably 4 years of experimentation on my previous van to nail this one. I put a lot of thought into it. The idea was to make it as functional as possible. I travel all over the country making YouTube videos, going to mountain bike festivals. So the idea was to have it high quality, but no fluff. Just everything I need to sleep well, camp out, and store all my bike stuff and be able to fix all that stuff. So let's go take a look. One of the first things you'll notice are the Owl Van steps. So since this is an all-wheel drive with a lift kit, it's pretty tall to get in it. And sometimes I'm getting banged up and bruised when I'm riding, so that was kind of a high step. So I put those Owl steps on there to make getting in and out of the van a little bit easier. I spent a ton of time tailgating. When we did the original van layout, they proposed putting the refrigerator inside the van, which I didn't like. In my old van, I had a Dometic refrigerator right here, nice and handy, but since I had a countertop, we had a little bit of a design issue. So I workshopped this out of some plywood and figured out how to make it work, and we came up with this really cool idea so that when I'm tailgating with my friends, we can access the refrigerator, access a garbage can, and everybody doesn't have to go into the van constantly. So let me show you how it works. This Dometic fridge is on some slides. It comes all the way out. You can reach in there, grab the beverage of choice, and then when you're done with it, we got this little porthole right here. You could throw your empties in here. Later on, when I show you inside the van, once this is all slid back into place, that garbage can lives under the sink, so you could access it from inside too. So I was pretty stoked with how this came out. That was something that I designed, and the guys from Sender Vans just brought it to reality. When we're tailgating, you need to have a place to sit. So right under here, I have storage for 2 good folding chairs. When you close that, and some fire starters. When you close that up, everything is tucked in out of place and looks nice and clean. So I carry 17 gallons of water. You fill it right here with this porthole. You close it up. The tank sits under the van. It doesn't take up any space in the garage, which was really important to me. So everything's nice and stealth, even where you fill it. The most important part of a van for me, being a professional bike rider, is the garage. So I'm super excited to show you. When I'm riding around day to day, I like to use my one-up rack. I just put my bikes on here, quick in and out. Really easy to get a hold of the bikes. It's on a rack attached, so I could swing this out of the way. And then when I'm traveling, I could keep all my stuff inside and secure, so nothing gets stolen. About 5 years ago in my first van, I had all glass windows and it wasn't closed off. Everything was super visible, and I got my van broken into. I actually had $30,000 worth of stuff stolen. So having the garage in here, everything blocked out of the way, makes me feel a lot safer when I'm traveling. So we'll open up these back doors. On this door right here, I carry a bike rack. This is made by Feedback Sports. This just goes right in here, allows me to do any kind of work I need to do when I'm on the road. Between the Feedback Sports rack and this toolkit that sits right here, I could pretty much fix anything I need to fix on my bike on the road. Carry a lot of gear when you ride, so I have this huge shoe organizer. It's full of gloves, pads, all kinds of stuff, because I'm constantly getting stuff dirty, sweaty. I can store it all back here. It lives in the garage, keeps everything pretty organized, and then that way there's no stank inside the van. This was something really cool. This was an idea that I came up with. There's another pro rider named Jill Kintner. She had a custom van built out, and they had some helmet and pocket storage on the back of their vans, but theirs went all the way to the ceiling. So I liked the idea of having something that contains the bedding. A lot of times you open up the back of your van and your bedding's falling into your bikes and whatever. So I wanted to utilize the space, make it look a little bit more organized, but I didn't want to go to the ceiling. So I came up with this. My YouTube channel is called Trail Boss right there. And we kind of joked during the development of this that this is the Boss Box. So if you ever hit up Sender Vans and you want one of these, tell them you want the Boss Box. but this is made out of skate light, which is really cool. I grew up riding skateboards and BMX bikes, so using skate light, which is a really popular surface for when you're building ramps, it's kind of a nod to just growing up as a kid doing those sports. So all this tan wood that you see around the garage is skate light. It won't scratch, it won't dent, and it's just cool. This allows me to store helmets, so I got 2 helmets in here. I can store my compressor hoses, regular hoses, all my cleaning supplies, so keep everything looking dialed on my bike. The garage itself, it holds up to 4 bikes. So I have this L-track in here. I only store 2 in here right now, but if you look around, there's L-track on the wall. So I have a bike rack mount over there and over here. I'm not mounting the bikes on the wall. I just store those over here. If I need to carry 4 bikes, I just attach those right across here. Along with that theme of getting dirty when you're riding, a lot of outdoor showers and a lot of bike washing. So I have that 17-gallon tank. I could plug everything inside here. It's just a quick disconnect hose. I could clean up my body, clean up my bikes. It just keeps everything nice and organized. If I need to fix anything on my bike, I have the tools, but then I also have this toolbox which is full of spare parts. So different shocks, pedals, bearings that you might need, all that stuff just lives in here. Lots of small parts. Again, I travel a lot, and the worst thing that could happen is to miss a group ride or to miss a YouTube video because something broke. So I keep all those spare parts in here. Have a full wash kit behind it, so if I need to wash my bike, all that's back there. And then just kind of trying to utilize every inch of storage. This is a Cook Partner stovetop. This is what I primarily cook on when I'm camping. It's a huge double burner. It's really awesome for cooking. There's a Dometic table that mounts to the wall. My frying pans live in this little kind of dead space back here. If you take a peek in the back of the van, there is a Bosch water heater. And then for those emergency situations, I have the porta potty little toilet in there. Haven't needed to use it yet, but if I ever did, it's on board and ready for action. Another cool thing is this is something that's usually designed for garage use. This is a one-up rack that slides, so it allows me to hang stuff, keep wheels organized. One of the things with a van when you don't have something like that, front wheels, you take them off to mount them in these mounts, and then the wheels are flopping all over the place. So I can keep all that stuff organized or use it for extra storage. So my full face hangs on there, keeps everything nice and organized. The last thing about storage would be the top of the shelf right here. I had it designed just low enough so that 12 by 12 storage crates fit in there. So all this stuff that I don't use on a very frequent basis, like say spare tires for my bike, jumper cables for the car, that's all the way back in that back corner, and that sits on top of this box that houses the entire power system. So it's super important to maximize every single square inch of storage space in these vans. So this was something really cool. When we built out the van, it didn't have this at first, and they actually allowed me to cut this hole in here and do this one myself, which was pretty sweet. So in order to get this bike as close as possible to the wall, you can see when I take it out, there is a storage pocket. So I just put my pedal in there, and instead of the bike sitting 4, 5, 6 inches further away from that wall and maybe only be able to get 3 in here, now I can fit 4. It's all because of that little pocket right there. Now that the bike's off of here, I'm going to pop this cover off and I'll give you a look at the power system. So this is all the power for the van and the compressor. As a pro rider, compressed air is probably the second most valuable thing to me other than water. A lot of seating of tubeless tires, cleaning out the van. I use the air compressor all the time. So air compressor is super important. And then for the power, I have this 270 amp hour Battleborn Game Changer battery. It's totally upgradable if I ever want to add more batteries to it. And then I'm not a huge electrical guy, but it has all this Victron stuff in here. 3,000 watt inverter. You can charge it from shore power, you can charge it from solar, or you can charge it off of the alternator in the car. And then the cool thing for me is there's the app that you use on your phone, so I can monitor where my battery's at. So if you want to look back here, this is one of my favorite things about this entire van. I've built out my old one, and I love building stuff out of wood. Once it gets to electrical, I have no idea what's going on. So one of the cool things for me is that it has this whole fuse panel over here that I could access from the door from the main cabin, but everything is labeled. It all has labels, it's all lit up, so I actually know how to turn off my water heater, the air compressor, everything on that main fuse panel. And then there's a few more switches back here, so I could turn on my compressor from here. I have some lights, so if I'm loading up and everything, I have these 2 LED lights, keeps everything well lit and I can see what's going on. I have a little shoe tray here so I can keep a few pairs of extra shoes and a pump. That pretty much rounds out the garage, which is a super important piece of this van and pretty much the main reason I have it. A few other cool things is Sender Van's pretty much built out the whole van, but I did do a couple DIY things since I got it. The first one was creating this bug screen. The first trip I took, I thought how cool it would be to camp with the back doors open. And I did that and I got eaten alive. So I actually made this bug screen. It wasn't too hard to make, but it allows me to camp with the back doors open. And then I also made these pockets for the back doors. So these 2 fabric covered pockets, I can keep my foldable trash can on this one, and on the other door, my toolkit. But those were something that I contributed to the van, so I kind of feel kind of cool about that one. The van has a roof rack on it. So it is a backwoods roof rack and a backwoods ladder. Down the road, the plan is to obviously get a couple solar panels up there, and then with the roof rack I can put some storage boxes on there if I'm taking some big trips I need to carry more gear. So I have that availability. The other big reason with the roof rack was having the LED strip on the front. There's a 48-inch light bar, so that when I use the all-wheel drive to get into some off-road adventures, and if it does get dark, I could at least light up where I'm driving to see it. Taking a look around, it has, this is where you would plug in the shore power, so I can keep those batteries charged. And then once we hop inside, I'll give you a look at the space that these flares provide. I'm pretty tall, I'm 6'4", so it allows me to put the queen size bed across the width of the van. So a queen size bed is usually 50 by 80. So instead of going 80 into the van, I go 80 across. And even though the bump outs cost a few extra bucks, the amount of space that it saves me inside is totally worth it. Got the owl running boards on this side as well. The passenger window has a little slider in it, which is pretty cool. And both of the windows on those bump outs, this side cranks out, the other one slides. Other cool things are BF Goodrich tires. These all-terrains, I had them on my last van. Even with the rear wheel drive van, it was a game changer. It made it drive so much better and have so much better traction that on the all-wheel drive, they're super helpful, and it has some method wheels on there, which make it look pretty cool. That's the light bar. Looks kind of cool looking up there. Like I said, when you're driving at night, being able to light up where you're driving is super useful. That's pretty much the 360 view of the van, other than these really cool Sender Van graphics. But let's hop inside and I'll give you a look at how all this works. So like I said, the main thing is I wanted the van to be functional. I wanted to be able to do all the things I need to do, but I didn't want it super bougie. So there's no showers inside. The showers get taken outside. I wanted to be able to clean up stuff, so I got a really deep sink in here. So the sink is nice and deep. I could wash some pans in there. It has this removable shower head if I need to, you know, move that around and spray stuff down. If I even need to hold a little bit of water in there, I can do that inside the sink. It has a cutting board that keeps it covered, so then everything just is one big giant surface. Spend a lot of time tailgating, so I have this little Bose speaker that I could chill out and listen to music in the car, or if I tailgate, I just put it right there. That's my sound system. There's these lights mounted under the knockout, so the idea was to just give me a little bit more counter space, but it lights up that area and makes it super functional. Keeping with this countertop, I have this little storage cubby. One of the things I liked about my old van was just being able to store a couple odds and ends, so I always lose my lift passes for the bike parks, so I keep those right here. There's some extra power if I need to charge stuff outside. Little succulent plant to keep things homey inside here. And then this is kind of neat. This is a box of rocks from different places I've traveled to, and hopefully the more places I take this van to, the more this box of rocks will grow. The laminate is really cool. This is a cool laminate that's kind of self-healing, so it has like a satin finish to it. if it does get nicked or whatever, it won't really necessarily scratch unless it's something super deep. And then we wanted to aesthetically keep the edge grain, so it just gives it kind of like a Scandinavian type look or something like that. Underneath the countertop, this is my junk drawer. I tried to not have a junk drawer, but I think every van needs to have one. So this is just random stuff that when you have no place else to put it, I can throw it in there, put it out of the way, and everything stays nice and organized. The cool thing about the slider with the refrigerator that I showed you earlier was that you can access that garbage can from outside. But if you're inside, that garbage can is right there. So it's kind of neat. When it's inside, totally functional. When you're tailgating outside, you have that little porthole. I want to keep the van clean, so I have my dustpan right here. I have a Dyson vacuum that stays constantly plugged in, ready for action. I'm always dirty, always tracking it into the van. The floor is a really cool vinyl matting that I guess they use for airlines and stuff like that. So it has these little tiny knobs on there, so it gets some traction if it gets wet. But I can mop it, I can vacuum it, I can sweep it. It's really easy to keep clean. Another huge thing for me is coffee. I've gone down the route of jet boils, percolators, all that kind of stuff. I love having an espresso machine. So I finally got an espresso machine. It lives up here. I can make coffee right up here. I don't have grinds to get rid of to keep in the garbage. It just uses tiny little capsules. And coffee is super important in order to get you caffeinated for these big mountain bike rides. All of these cabinets are built with 80/20 frames, so they're nice and sturdy and light, and modular. So if I ever did want to modify something or whatever, we can take it away from the wall and mount something back up in its place. This is just random storage in here, different spices and things like that. These overhead cabinets are super cool, and there's a set of matching ones on this side. So over on this side, like I said, I do a lot of camping and cooking out, so all this stuff is just in a caddy, so I can just take it out of the van, or I could use it inside here. This is my little shower kit, cooking stuff, and then under here, just huge storage. I need a lot of gear, so there's socks, jerseys, all my riding gear fit in these baskets so I can keep everything organized. And then something cool is on this bottom shelf, there is a power outlet, so I can keep all my cameras, my laptops in here. I'm even charging my GoPro batteries as we do this. That all lives in there, keeps it kind of out of sight, so it's a little bit safer. And then underneath there, I have some drawers for cooking supplies. That can either be used inside or outside, and if I do decide to cook inside, I have this little induction stove. Instead of going with a dedicated one in the cooktop, I wanted to just have a big workspace, and if I do cook inside on a rare occasion, I just take out the little induction stove, put it right here, and it works perfect. The other cool thing is, this was another idea that working with the guys from Sender, this was kind of my idea, was to have stairs that tucked in and just looked like all these other drawers. So right here, pull that thing out. That's how I get up and into bed. And when I'm not using it, it just slides right out of the way. So moving into the bed area, I have a drawer underneath the bed. This is where I could put all my cutlery and stuff like that. It sits over the tires in the back, so it's just dead space anyway. So I figured why not throw a drawer in there. And then if I ever need to take a stand-up paddle board or something, I can pass it right through there. Sometimes when things get dirty, I take that compressed air like I was telling you about, and I'll run the hose in here and just blow from the front to the back and clean it out using compressed air. It's super convenient. And then the bed is a queen size bed. So it's full queen size. I spent some extra money, got a really good mattress, but that's super important for when I'm doing big long rides and I need to get good rest. So the bed sits side to side. It gives me about 30 extra inches of living space. And even being 6'4", which is pretty tall for the general population, especially for a mountain bike rider, having that queen size bed and being able to put it side to side was really valuable. And that's also one of the reasons why I chose the Ford Transit, is these are 6'7" before you build them out. So even with shoes on and a hat, I still have a couple inches above my head. So it really gives me a lot of living space. Another cool thing is the Boss box that I showed you turns into a full shelf across the back. So I have tons of room for my iPhone, iPad, anything I want extra storage. I have that, whereas in some other vans that would just be your back doors and you wouldn't have the ability to store anything. So that gives me a nice little spot to put stuff. And then I have some more over the foot storage in the bed. This is actually a Luno mattress, so that when I'm traveling with my son, I can turn the front cabin into an extra bed, and it actually works really well. I was a little skeptical spending a few $100 on it, but it's worked awesome, so definitely worth it. That is not a paid advertisement. The ceiling is really cool. So this is a tongue and groove kind of shiplap. It's just treated with wax, so it keeps smudges and dirt off of there, but it looks kind of cool. And when we were picking out the laminate for the cabinets and all that kind of stuff, it was looking very Scandinavian, but a little sterile. So I wanted to bring some more wood grain into here and just kind of give it a little bit more of a homey type feel. So they did the shiplap on the ceiling, and they did all the cool little small details, which if you pay attention to the seam over here, all the grains match up. So it's just those little details that make the van really cool. Moving into the main sitting area, when I first got the van built out, for about the first month, this was just wide open, and I didn't like the way that looked. So I went back and I kind of designed this open cabinet, and they, again, executed it. So this is kind of cool. I can keep some food up here. I have a plant, again, to try to make it a little bit more like home. Marshmallows for when you're camping, just different odds and ends in this open space. And then these hooks are made by 1UP, and these are just so that I can store stuff. I take a lot of road trips. I bring a lot of friends with me. Everybody has gear. Everything gets, you know, all over the place. You're constantly tripping over people's gear. So just having all these hooks for towels and all that kind of stuff is really useful. I do a lot of editing in my van, so I have this Lagoon table. So I'm able to sit at the driver's seat and use this Lagoon table for my laptop. And then the way that's designed, when I'm driving and the Lagoon table's not in here, I have this countertop. It actually works out really well so that when I'm editing and stuff like that, if I am a klutz, I keep all my coffee down here, everything that might spill on the computer down here, and then I have a workspace that's super safe. I travel with friends a lot and my kids, and I wanted to have a seat with seat belts. So I saw a lot of vans where people just put a small couch or whatever. It was really important for me to have a seat belt with the 3-point harnesses. So I purchased this seat, and it's actually mounted on L-track, so it's super cool. Even though it's facing sideways right now, I have the ability to take this seat, and in about 10 minutes or less, I could turn it so it faces forward and it fits in this area. Both ways function really well, but I kind of prefer the sideways sitting, and my 13-year-old son doesn't mind it at all, so I kind of keep it like this. And then something cool that I designed for my last van that the guys from Sender just took to the next level with this one is the under the seat storage. If you've ever looked at a transit van, there's so much room under there that's usually wasted. So this gives me 2 big drawers, one for random stuff, and then under this other one is a big storage spot. This is all my camping stuff, bug repellent, propane tanks, solo stove, all that kind of stuff. And then on the side is sunscreen, first aid kit, things that I don't usually need to access, but all that stuff lives under the seat. There's so much valuable storage there, you gotta put it to use. For insulation and ventilation, I have Havelock insulation throughout the whole entire vehicle. And I saw when they were building it out, and they definitely did not skimp. And I feel on hot summer days, it definitely is noticeable. It doesn't really get that hot in here, all things considered. And then as far as ventilation, I have 2 of these Max Air fans, one in the front, one in the back. The reason I wanted 2 in there was to make it so that it is upgradable. If I ever decide to put an air conditioning unit in the back, I could do that. But for right now, getting both the sucking and the blowing in the fans, it totally cools the van down and keeps it a nice temperature when I'm camping. Now, if you take a look over here, this is a cool feature. This has tons of stacked laminate. So we decided to do the window like this after being inspired by what we did in the kitchen. So I was on site for a lot of this van build, and they built this first cutout, and they were starting to laminate this. And I was like, whoa, wait, that looks super cool. I love the way this looked. I think it reminds me of skateboards and all that kind of stuff growing up. So we decided to leave this exposed and show all that end grain. And once we did that, when we decided to build out the window the way that they did, we had to keep that end grain going to keep that whole theme going. And it came out really cool. I think it gives it a super unique look. I've never seen that done on a van before. and I just love it. I guess the last thing that there is to talk about is privacy. So obviously for all the windows, I have the usual window coverings that you've seen on 1,000 vans. I could cover my front windows, side windows, all of these, but something that's kind of cool if I'm trying to get a good night's sleep and I just want everything dark, or if I'm traveling with friends. If you take a look right here, I designed this in, there's this little kind of threshold over here. Well, that hides a channel. So I have my blackout curtains that go across here. And this is kind of cool. If it's a cooler day and the back doors are closed, this makes it like the ultimate sleeping coffin. It's completely black. I get the best night's sleep ever. So that pretty much wraps it up. It took me about 3-4 months to have them build out this entire van. Like I mentioned, it was built by Sender Vans in Richmond, Virginia. They 100% built it to my spec and it came out awesome. I travel all over the country helping get underserved kids on bikes. This year we are on track to give away our 10,000th bicycle. So I've been riding professionally for 25 years. This van is a culmination of my job and career. I get to travel all over the world, so to be able to get kids on a bike that might not have had the opportunity that I did is probably one of the favorite things I do nowadays. If you're a van fanatic like me, this probably isn't the first video you've watched on New Jersey Outdoor Adventures. I never thought I'd have my own personal van on here, and I'm super excited to show you. Pat and I started talking about showing you my last van, and I think when we started talking about it, I already knew this one was in the works, so I didn't want to waste the opportunity to give you the tour of my van. So hopefully you liked it.
Yeah, awesome having you on. We've been talking about it for a long time. Your last van was a low top Transit.
Yes.
Mid-roof, I guess.
The last van was a mid-roof, mid-length, and it was just a 15-passenger van that I built out myself. But it gave me a lot of proof of concepts for what we did with this one, and I feel like we really nailed it on this one.
And I think your builder did a great job. You and them together collaborating on this build and come up with all these ideas. I like the fact that it's adaptable. You could change things out. Everything's almost like a modular design.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to add air conditioning like you mentioned, yep, solar panels on the roof, additional battle-borne batteries, a heating system down the road, you have that ability to do so.
Yeah, we left room for those upgrades. I wanted to try to keep this van as paid for as much as possible as I was building it out. So we're building as we go along. There will be solar on there. There might be another air conditioner, but right now we're just trying to get the van built, and I'm super stoked with what the guys from Sender Vans did with it. I spent a lot of time traveling around in this van, making the YouTube videos for my channel. It's called Trail Boss. So if you have any interest in checking out some mountain bike content, check out the Trail Boss channel on YouTube, or my Instagram is @JeffLenosky. I had a ton of fun showing you this van today.
All right, folks, so that's it for this video. Make sure you follow Jeff. This is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us.